Today we have Hennie Meyer, who was born in the Western Cape, has travelled around, lived a bit in Natal, the Free State, and then returned to Stellenbosch to study, and is now based in Durbanville with his family. He's a local ceramic artist who's well known around the Western Cape and I think around the world too, including Canada. And today he's going to be talking to us about a very special project called ukusela ekapa, and our theme today is connected. So he's going to be sharing how that project has connected communities. So over to you.
Thank you very much. Ukusela ekapa. It was a massive project, but the most difficult part of this project was trying to condense it into a 20-minute talk. So I'm going to try my best to just keep on to 20 minutes and keep you engaged. Just to give you some background about the project, ukusela ekapa was a well-designed capital project, one of the official ones for Cape Town last year. And ukusela ekapa means to drink Cape Town in Afrikaans, sê dit soveel lekkerder, slurp Kaapstad op. So that was the name ukusela ekapa. And what we did, and I'll just explain to you quickly, we wanted to do something for well-designed capital that included people from all walks of life, not just designers and artists. So we came up with this idea and then through the course of the year, we made 11,500 of these ceramic drinking vessels. And I refer to them as ikomikis, which is the Xhosa word for a drinking vessel without a handle. So we made 11,500 of these. While they were wet, we took them to individuals in Cape Town, asked people to take hold of the cup, squeeze the cup, imprint their hands in the soft clay, write their name and age at the bottom of the cup. We gave them a keyring in return to say thanks for being part of the project. We took them back to the studio, glazed and fired them. And then in November, prominent South African land artist Strydom van der Merwe did a massive installation with all 11,000 cups at the Castle of Good Hope. We asked people to sign our visitors book when they took part in the project. We emailed and SMS'd people to say, come to the castle. They could come to the castle for free on that day and collect not their own, but somebody else's cup. So connecting people through design. So the whole idea was to go through the whole process and connect people. And it was interesting just bringing this today. When I opened it up, people just wrote their name and age in here and what part of Cape Town or what part of the world they came from and just a contact detail. And on this first page that I opened, there was somebody from Fresno, Guguletu, Samora, Delft, Khayelitsha, Stellenbosch, Munenberg, and Rhode Island, USA. So that kind of gives you an idea of how the project went around. But I think what's going to be the best, because I've explained a little bit about the project, but I'm going to just show you a short video clip of about 2 minutes that was shot by Navigator Films, who also did a documentary on the project, which we are waiting for. But if you see this, it was right from the beginning. I think it was the day before we packed all these soft vessels into these crates that was designed by Luke Bossoff, a first-year architecture student. And I think on the day we took them out, they weren't even varnished yet. So it just gives you an idea of the whole project. So thanks, Laura. So I think that gives you quite a good idea of what our vision was for the project. And it actually was a bit of a crazy project because we had no idea what we were letting ourselves in for. So it was actually quite difficult in a way, but also really fantastic. Thank you. So I think the easiest way for me to do this, Lauren had a bit of a fright when she saw how many slides I had to show you. And I think that's the best way to show you through visually. So I'm going to go through a whole lot of slides just to kind of give you some little idea of what the project was all about. So ukusela, ekapa, slurp Kaapstad op, drink Cape Town in. We also did a lot of collaboration with other designers and other people that could help us, and most of them Durbanville based. We had a wonderful graphic designer, Alta Stachman, and she designed our logo, which actually is if you look at it, is the actual squeezing of the cup. And she did a lot of graphics for us throughout the year, and she was just really fantastic. So if anybody needs a graphic designer, I would really highly recommend her. And we really went everywhere in Cape Town, as you'll see, to do the squeeze. Now that is Janine Duval, who's also a local architect in Durbanville, a very clever and creative lady. And how this whole project came about was totally by accident. We attended a Ceramic South Africa annual general meeting, which is normally very boring. We attended that, and somebody spoke about Helsinki as the previous world design capital. And as we drove back from the castle to Durbanville, in the 25-minute, we had a wonderful creative interaction and thought, Helsinki, Cape Town, worlds apart. We can't do the same in Cape Town as it did in Helsinki. What can we do differently? Obviously, being a ceramic artist, it had to be ceramic related. And in that 25 minutes, we had the whole idea worked out. And we were very excited after that. So it was really nice working with her and coming up with this whole thing. And also, all the work had to be done by ourselves. It was myself, Janine. We had a logistics manager, which we called Marisa Volstedt. She was out in Somerset West. And then we had just 4 other people in the studio, not working full-time, 3 days a week, to actually get this whole project off the ground. So we were a very small group and did everything from building the crates, which Janine's dad did, to making these. Now, this is a company called Polygo, and they produce polypropylene. And I phoned this guy and said, we need polypropylene, but we need you to give it to us. And he said, my friend, nobody gives away polypropylene. And he gave us 250 grams of polypropylene to put inside these anklets that were given to us by Falker. The sock guys also gave them to us. Janine's mother filled them and stitched them. And these were put inside the cup. So when you squeeze, you didn't actually crush the cup. That was quite an important part. But we had a lot of goodwill throughout the project. This is a guy called Paul Herman. And we went to Paul. He's the director of a company called Easy Can out on the West Coast. And he makes canning machines for the canning companies. And we said to him, Paul, we need an extruder. It's like a giant cookie press, but it needs to be very precise. And he said, no problem. And he phoned me one day and he said, how do you work with clay? Because it sticks to everything. And he was fantastic. He kept coming back and working on the extruder that could extrude a tube of clay, which we used to make the ikumikis. So he was fantastic. He came, and I think one day he worked there, and I almost lost his finger as well, and had to go to Durbanville to the hospital and everything. So he was fantastic. And that's the extruder actually in action. And that's the group of people that helped me in the studio. So it was Peter Jacobs, Alessandro Papadal, Lizandi Furi, and Nomfaneko Machaya. And myself and those 4 people made all 11,000 of these cups and took them to people to actually physically squeeze them. So it was just a fantastic group of people. That's us in the studio working. You can see Lizandi is in winter here. It was very cold because it's quite open. And that's kind of what the studio looked like for a year, with squeezed cups ready to be glazed, ready to be fired glazed. So it was quite a crazy year in the studio. That's the glazing happening, packing into the kiln, and then after they came out of the kiln, we immediately packed them into boxes and had that stored because there was no storage, anywhere. And that was my son. He actually made the key rings for us. We got a quote for the key rings. We had them all printed, and then someone said, R1.50 to put them together, and I said, no way, we don't have that money. So my son did it for 50 cents. So he was happy, and That was one of our first squeezes at the clock tower at the waterfront, which was painted in the colours of World Design Capital. And that's also why we decided to make these. We used the black clay and the yellow glaze, which were the colours of World Design Capital. Interesting, what we wanted to do, at the end of the project, we wanted to make sure that we could say that we went to the people of Cape Town. And the only way we could do that was by going to the city and finding out that Cape Town was divided into 24 sub-councils, and we made sure that we went to every single sub-council to squeeze. Kailicha, for example, has 4 sub-councils. We went to every single sub-council, to libraries, schools, and did a squeeze somewhere. And we also actually did, like you see, Franschhoek, Grabouw, Hermanus, and Stellenbosch, we also did, which actually fell outside of the city. We had a standing date with the waterfront, and went there every last Saturday of the month and did a squeeze there. We even went up into the, what do you call that, the Ferris wheel. And Ofaneko had a good squeeze in the Ferris wheel. We went to schools. This was at Northlink College down here in Belleville. As you can see, people lined up. We had quite nice banners that explained the process, and we actually spoke to every person that took part in the project, because we would just stop next to the street and get out. And so we really, at some point, we were like saying it in our sleep, saying, this is a World Design Capital project, and it was just fantastic. That was at Gugulethu Mall, which I didn't even know existed. We went there, went through a lot of interesting place to get there. There we had a really interesting experience with a young guy. He must have been in his early 20s. He took part in the squeeze, and then he started canvassing other people. We got him, I spoke to him afterwards, and I kind of wanted to thank him on Facebook, because we had a very active Facebook project. And then I asked him if he's got Facebook, and he said yes. I said, will you just write your details down? Because I thought we would like to thank him. Then I realized he was about 20 odd years old. He didn't know how old he was. He couldn't read. He couldn't write. But it was one of those little experiences that will stay with me forever. Then we had one of these ikumikis that were fired. We always took that with to show people what they looked like eventually. And I gave him one, and he was standing next to Alessandro, and he just kind of gave Alessandro a hug and kind of cried. It was just like a really, really nice thing to happen. Then we were in Philippi at Science and Maths School. We had some wonderful squeezes there. We did some more scenic ones. We even went up Table Mountain. This was one of the most incredible squeezes we had at the Red Cross Children's Hospital. And I knew about the Children's Hospital, but I'd actually never been there. And I felt so proudly South African after being at the Red Cross Children's Hospital, because for those of you that haven't been there, I think people should go there. And not to feel better because of what you have, but to see how people treat other people. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. We also went to the flower sellers in Adderley Street, and you can imagine what the flower sellers did with the Cape Town squeeze. We had lots of fun there. It was very funny. We got the mayor to squeeze. Actually, it was all on the same day. That was also fun. And then in Wallace Dean, going to a feeding scheme. So you'll see throughout all of this, we went to not just one place, didn't just get one type of person. We got a really great mix of people. This was on the 1st of September. We decided to go out to Marmara because we thought we'll have a lot of West Coast flowers. And I can tell you, we could have just gone in Durbanville. There were more flowers than in Marmara. But we did find some flowers in Marmara. And on the way there, driving into Marmara, we saw a lady with the reddest hair that I'd ever seen. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if she could squeeze? Then we drove past a lady that had curlers in her hair. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if she could squeeze? And then we ended up stopping at a little shop called the Kraakvars Cafe. And lo and behold, who walked up there? The lady with the red hair and the lady with the curlers. The lady with the curlers was happy that I'd take a photograph of her, but only from the back. She didn't want her face to be seen. So there we are, squeezing the lady in the red hair and the lady with the curlers, and got all of them to be part of it. This was at the Promenade Mall. And it was really wonderful. In 1 week, we went to the Promenade Mall in Mitchell's Plain, and within three-quarters of an hour, we had squeezed our maximum number of squeezes that we could do in one go, which is 225. within 3/4 of an hour. We had to go to the Spur to have a waffle to just recover. Then on the Friday, we went to the garden centre and had a squeeze there. And what a different experience. People still excited and interested, but just very different. And probably took us 2 hours to squeeze half of that. And we had a lot of scheduled squeezes, but we also had a lot of pop-up ones. So this is the day we went to Bloberg, because we thought, what a great photo opportunity with Table Mountain in the background. And that was the wonderful thing. We could really talk to everybody. And only sometimes, very few times, we got people that were a little bit worried. And in more affluent areas, we found that. People were thinking, what is the catch here? And there was no catch. And that was fantastic. We were very lucky. We got a whole lot of publicity through the project. We were on television. We also went to the Two Oceans and did a squeeze there for television. And then, if you looked at our clip in the beginning, we had like 250 likes on Facebook. And we really drove a vicious Facebook campaign. And we ended up with more than 38,000 likes. Now, for older people, that might not mean anything. Didn't for me in the beginning. But it was fantastic getting so many likes. And I think the post that we had the most likes for, one post, was like over 10,000. So we really got people to know about the project. And then within a few months of the project, we only squeezed in the Greater Cape Town area. We had somebody from every single province in South Africa squeeze. In Cape Town, but there was somebody from every single province. And I think we got about 53 countries of the world. So all people that were in Cape Town that had squeezed. And it was interesting, in January there was a group that squeezed at the waterfront from the United States. And they also worked in some project in Atlantis. And in January the guy contacted me and he said he's here with a new group of people. Can they come and collect the ikomikis? And they came and did that. Part of the project was to get more famous people to squeeze, what we call special squeezes. We've got Siv Ngesi, Solly Philander, Zapiro, Sandra Prinsloo, and I think this was Helen Ziller. We got them to squeeze, and the idea was that they squeeze more than one, and that we give them one back, and that we auction the rest for a charity, and then half the money would go to the charity, and half the money would come towards the project. But somewhere along the line, we realized to do that it was like another business here to run. So we got more than 70 special squeezes, or people that were famous, to squeeze, but we never really got to auctioning very many of them. We managed to get a whole lot of publicity throughout the year, in various papers, even some overseas publications, so we were very fortunate. We thought in the beginning we'd get somebody to brand and sponsor a car for us. We couldn't do that, so we just took my old car and we branded it all ourselves. So we were very happy with that. As I said, we had to do everything ourselves. So this was preparing for a exhibition at the stadium. And we used the road. I don't know if that was legal. We used the road to kind of work out what we needed. And that was the installation we did at the stadium in Cape Town, where we used only 6,000 of the actual cups, which were done at that point. Janine designed these towers that were filled with ikomikis that now have a final resting place at Riston Vrede in Durbanville. So they're part of a permanent sculpture there. And then one of the highlights for me was doing the 46664 installation on Robben Island. So we took 10,000 of these ikomikis to Robben Island and did an installation there. And that for me was just a fantastic experience. And we were very lucky with Robben Island Museum. They were very accommodating in allowing us to do that. And that was us going over on the first day to go and set up the installation. It was really quite an amazing experience. And of course it had to rain as well. And that's how we set up. We had to work it out very carefully beforehand. And we got a group of about 12 people together that went over on the second day. And we just packed the installation. And that is it. It was great because you could actually climb up in the tower and view the installation from the top. And we also did a squeeze on Robben Island. At that point, it was towards the end of October. I think the group that was working with me, when I said we have to go and squeeze on Robben Island as well, I could see them thinking, no, who's going to carry those things all the way? But everybody did in the end. We did an opening on Robben Island. And this is a guy called Scott Kofi. He's the owner of a beautiful hotel in Indonesia called Quincy Villas. And he was our sponsor for the project. Now what happened, I did some work for his hotel in 2008 and then again in 2012. And he was here in 2013 and we had lunch together and I told him about the project. And I was quite excited about the project also because in a way, visually it linked to what I had done at the hotel in Indonesia. And he loved South Africa. He loved the project and he loved the idea behind the project. And he said to me, so who's going to sponsor you? So I said, no, I haven't really thought about that. I'm sure people will just jump on to sponsor this project. And he's a very good businessman. And he said, maybe it's going to be a bit harder. So he said he would give us half the money that we needed to start the project. And then he came over in May and saw what we were doing. He really liked it. And I spoke about Robben Island and him being an American. And he lived in Indonesia. And he now lives in Brazil. When he heard Robben Island, 20 years of democracy, Nelson Mandela, he said, so what are the chances of doing this installation on Robben Island? I said, no problem whatsoever. And he said if I can manage that, he would double our funding, which would then be enough to do the project. And then I didn't sleep for a few days because I thought, how on earth do you manage to do that on a World Heritage site? And just logistically, and it was fantastic to then be able to do it on Robben Island. And it was great to have Scott there. He especially came over for the Robben Island installation. And everything had to be packed up again. And there was no one you could phone and say, please go and pack it up. We had to do it all ourselves. There was a very tired group going back from Robben Island. I think last year I went to Robben Island about 16 times. Then we did another installation as part of Cape Town November being Ceramic Month in Cape Town. We did, again, Janine did her installation at the Alphen. We did a small little wave. And then the final installation was done at the Castle of Good Hope by Strydom van der Merwe. We did a fantastic, beautiful installation. And what was really great for me of that day, because I was really worried that being in the center of Cape Town, we would only get people from the City Bowl coming to to collect the ikumikis. And it was fantastic. There were thousands of people, and people came by taxi, by train. I mean, my wife said to me at some point, wasn't that guy, didn't he squeeze on the train in June? And I said, yes, and I went to speak to him, and he had the same jacket on. And he had come to collect his ikumiki. You can see Strydom's got a whole lot that he also had to collect. And we just had it was just a wonderful day. And then again, after all of that, we had to pack it all up again. And what was really fantastic, which Strydom really enjoyed, was the fact that it had been there for a few days and it had created these wonderful patterns on the ground. How many did we have left in the end? What we also did, we took a whole lot of ikumikis back to places that we knew people would have difficulty to come and collect them. So if we went to schools in certain areas, we took them back there. So out of the 11,500 we squeezed, I think we have less than 1,000 left. So, which I thought was quite incredible, because I thought, oh, what are we going to do with 9,000 ikumikis? And then what we did in December, on the anniversary of Nelson Mandela's death, we packed 466 ikumikis into little boxes that we had like this, and we took them to the Robben Island Museum and just handed out to people, whoever walked past. And then this is the last slide, but this was wonderful. A lady came towards the end. She was from CPUT, I think, and she came with people and she wanted to collect her cup. And then I took a photograph of the group, and she said, no, take a photograph of me alone. And that kind of really symbolizes the project in a great way for me. And then just to end off, just on a personal note, ukusela ekapa was really a fantastic experience for me to be part of. And I looked up synonyms for life-changing experience. And I found, because I thought that life-changing sounds a bit corny, but what I did find was metamorphic, cathartic, mind-blowing, revitalized, and transformative. And ukusela ekapa managed to do all of that for me. And what I learned was that if you treat people with dignity and respect, really treat them with dignity and respect, you get dignity and respect back. I also realized that it's not governments, committees that make a difference. It's always individuals that make a difference. And it's individuals within governments and within committees that make things happen. And I think like the Tygerberg, future Tygerberg Creative, it's not really city of Cape Town that does it. It's individuals that make things happen. And then I was born in Cape Town, but now after this year, for the first time, I really feel truly Cape Townian. I feel proud when I see the mountain, because I'd been to places I never would have gone to before. I'd met incredible people. And I found that South Africans in general, and really South Africans from all walks of life, are really great people. And even in this, maybe this week is not such a good week for our country, but even within that, having met all these people and connected with all these people, I've never been as positive about the future of South Africa as I am after this project. So, thank you very much.